I don't know anything. No man really understands women. But I get a lot of fan mail. And the fan mail that I find most flattering is from women who say that I'm the only male writer they know who understands women. And that pleases me very much.
The only one?
Yes.
And do you feel you understand women?
No.
No?
No, it's very hard for a man to understand women, but I love women, and I empathize with them. I sympathize with them.
Do you think that all the situations that happen in your novels could happen in reality?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes?
Yeah, I won't write.
They are so fantastic.
I know, but if there's a situation where a reader says, oh, I don't believe it, it spoils the illusion of the story. So everything to me is very real. My characters are very real to me. And I think because of that, they're real to my readers. I get a lot of letters. I remember in one book, Rage of Angels, I let a little boy die. I got so many letters. People were so unhappy. One woman wrote to me from the East and gave me her phone number and said, call me. I can't sleep. How could you let him die? It got so bad, Christina, that when I did the miniseries on television, I let him live. I mean, people were just too unhappy.
You changed the plot.
That's right. I did.
They write you a lot, your readers, all over the world?
Yes. I'm in 50 different countries.
Yeah,
so
you've been translated to 30 languages. 50 languages.
50 languages. So I get a lot of letters from everywhere.
And when you travel, people recognize you everywhere or not?
If they hear my name, they know who I am usually. Or if they recognize my picture from the book jacket, yes.
I suppose more your name than your picture, or not? Because writers, people know writers more from their books than from their
more
appearance.
my name, I would say.
You think so?
Yes.
How much did you sell of this last book?
Well, the first printing in the States was 1,250,000 copies. Here
1,250,000?
Yes. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Here, the first printing is 60,000 copies in Argentina.
In Argentina, that's a lot, you know.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, maybe in general now, a normal book is 3,000 copies. So 60,000 is a lot.
I feel very fortunate.
You feel fortunate?
Yes, I do.
People here recognize you a lot. You feel that?
Yes, they seem to know me here, and that pleases me.
When did you arrive?
A few days ago, and I'll be here for another week. But I'll be traveling around Argentina to different places.
You go to different cities?
Cordova tomorrow, yes.
I see.
And a couple other places.
Tell me about your book, Sidney, this story. You have a group, a searching group, because you had so many data, so many things. I wonder when I read you always, how did you get all that information?
Well, I do enormous research.
You yourself?
Oh, yes.
Because I've been told, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have much opportunity of knowing American writers. We don't meet much of them here. But they told me the great bestsellers group work with searching groups, investigation groups.
Well, I think James Michener has a large staff of researchers. And I think Irving Wallace had a few researchers. The only one I have is a lady who looks up things like statistics for me. You know, the number of people living in a city or something. But when it comes to real research, I go to those countries.
You go yourself?
Oh, absolutely. For instance, in Windmills of the Gods, I wrote about a female ambassador who is sent to Romania. I went to Romania. I will not write about a meal in a restaurant anywhere in the world, whether it's in Africa or Singapore.
If you don't go there.
That's right. And I've had that meal at that restaurant, or I don't write about it. And I think my readers, from the mail I get, they know the difference, and they feel as though they've been to these places because I've been there and I describe it. Yeah, absolutely.
But how do? You plan a story, you imagine a story, you begin to write at home or not?
Well, what happens, I work a little differently from most authors. I don't start with a plot. I start with a character. That's all I have. For instance, in the book I wrote, If Tomorrow Comes, I wanted to write about a female crook, a con artist, who cheats people. And that's all I had to begin with, a female con artist. I had no plot. In Rage of Angels, I wanted to write about a female criminal attorney. I had no plot. Time magazine said that I'm so powerful that all I have to do is tell my publisher 3 words and they commit to a book. It has nothing to do with power. Those 3 words are the only words I know at that time.
And with, I'm sorry, With those 3 words, you go to a publisher and you say, well, I have a new novel, I'll write a new novel.
Right.
And you sell it immediately,
He
or not?
says, go ahead, and he commits to
He
publish it.
pays you a lot of dollars, I suppose.
A few.
There are a few,
Yeah.
come on,
Yeah.
there at that
Yes.
moment. And then you sit down at home,
I talk to a secretary, and
Yeah.
I start dictating.
And
the
you
book.
dictate.
I dictate the first draft. And as I talk, the story comes to life, and other characters come in, and pretty soon I see where it's going. But when I start, I have no idea where it's going. In a sense, I am the reader as well as the writer, because I don't know what's going to happen next. And it's an exciting way to work.
Exciting, yes.
It is exciting. And when I finish the first draft, which can be 1,500 pages, I take the typed pages, and I go to page 1,
Yeah.
and I start rewriting it. I will throw away 100, 200 pages at a time and bring in new characters and get rid of old scenes. And I go all the way through, and she retypes that. And when I see the new version, I go to page 1 and start again. I do that for a year to a year and a half, making that book as good as I know how. I could easily write 2 or 3 books a year because I dictate up to 50 pages a day.
I see.
But I prefer making that book as interesting as I can for my readers. So I spend all that time on each book.
First you write it, and then you have 1 year and a half to correct. That's
Exactly.
right.
Exactly.
And for writing it, how much time?
Maybe 3 months, 4 months.
And imagine, I try to imagine, you're writing and you say, well, now a chapter in Russia. And you go and you take the plane, you go to Russia.
I will go anywhere that I'm writing about. Absolutely.
And then you come back and you go on writing.
Well,
or you go afterwards. How
sometimes in the beginning, when I know where it's going to be, sometimes in the middle, sometimes when it's finished, I will do more research. But we just bought a place in London, because in London, in 1 hour, I can be in Italy or France or Germany, and it's so easy. So I go to all those places to do research.
I see.
And I talk to the top experts.
I remember the last time you came here, you were writing a novel. I don't remember the title now. Which novel was it? And you asked me, I don't know if you remember, tell me, Christina, some places, some restaurants in Buenos Aires or some places not in downtown, on names of the street, and you all... you remember that?
Yeah,
and then I read the book, and all that was in the book.
Oh, sure.
That was weird for me. I felt, oh, that's how you do it. You go to the place and you ask people.
Oh, I talk to all the experts wherever I go. I've talked to the FBI. I've talked to Interpol in Paris. When I want to furnish a house for someone, I will go to Sotheby's or Christie's and talk to their top experts.
Yes.
I saw the top people in Germany when I was writing Bloodline. And wherever I go, I talk to the top experts to get the best information.
For instance, in this novel, Memories of Midnight, there's a chapter about a trial.
Yes.
And it's very well described. Did you talk with lawyers, with judges, with whom?
Yes. When I did the first book, The Other Side of Midnight, I went to Greece. I talked to Aristotle Onassis, his personal pilot, because I needed information on the kind of plane he would fly.
And they give you the information easily?
Oh, yeah, people are very nice about that.
Uh-huh.
And I talked to lawyers who were in Greece during World War II, which is when the book takes place. When I decided to write a sequel, Memories of Midnight, I went back to Greece because I wanted to refresh myself and I wanted new information to put in the book.
I see.
So I spent time there.
And tell me a bit, maybe some people didn't read yet Memories of Midnight. Could you talk about the plot a bit?
Yeah, Memories of Midnight is a story of a woman named Catherine who, because of terrible things that happened to her, lost her memory. In the beginning of Memories of Midnight, Catherine, who is in a convent in Greece, in a little island called Ioannina, starts regaining her memory. And the woman in charge of the convent calls Constantine Demiris, who was a very powerful Greek tycoon, and tells him that Catherine is regaining her memory. And he is afraid of her because she knows a secret that could destroy him. Yeah. So he has her sent to him, and he offers her a job. Now, she has no memory of the past with him. And because she's regaining her memory, he calls in an assassin who has never failed to fulfill a contract, to murder people he's hired to kill. And he says to the assassin, I want you to kill Catherine.
Yeah.
And that's the beginning of the book.
Yeah. Or, of course, Catherine succeeds in everything.
We don't know that, do we, Christina?
I don't have to tell that?
No, it's a series of how she stays alive and what happens in the adventures she has that is the book of memories of midnight.
Will this book will be filmed?
Yes, it will be a miniseries.
When?
Well, it'll be out in the States within a year, and I don't know how long it'll take to get here.
How did he manage with that? First, you published the book.
Right.
You keep it as a book for a year, for instance, before filming it.
That's right. And then the film comes out, and the soft cover comes out.
So you get sure
of
that the book is sold first. Is it right?
Oh yeah. Well, all the books of mine have been made into either theatrical motion pictures or miniseries. They've all been made.
You make the adaptation yourself, the plot?
I won't write screenplays. I've written 30 motion pictures.
Yes, I know.
In the past, before I ever wrote a book, I wrote 30 movies, 8 Broadway plays, 250 television scripts for series that I created.
Before your first novel?
Before my first novel. Now, I don't know if those series have played here in Argentina.
Sometimes, yes.
I Dream of Jeannie.
Yes.
Mi Bella Genio, I think it was called in one of the languages. Heart to Heart.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, Robert Wagner and Stephanie Powers. That's popular in the States. And the Patty Duke Show. Anyway, I've done a lot of television and movies and Broadway before I ever wrote a book.
Which are the differences between doing television or movies and doing a novel or making a novel?
Well, the big difference is when you write a screenplay, you don't describe your leading man. Because if you say he's tall and thin and kind of laconic, and you give that to Clint Eastwood, and Clint Eastwood turns it down, and you give it to Dustin Hoffman, who's very short, you're in big trouble.
Yeah.
So you don't describe, you just characterize it.
People imagine, yeah.
Exactly. And you don't describe a room, because the best set decorators in Hollywood are going to be doing those rooms. So it's kind of a shorthand.
Yes.
You'll characterize, you'll say the room is shabby, or it's genteel, or elegant. Mm-hmm. But when you do a novel, you not only have to describe what the character looks like, but what he or she is wearing and thinking. And when they walk into a room, what's in that room, because the reader only knows what you tell the reader on those pages. Yes. So it's a different kind of writing. It's more in-depth, and it's more exciting. You get into their minds.
Yes.
I enjoy that.
You enjoy it much more. Which are the formula, what do you think of the formula for being a bestseller?
There is no
I
formula.
imagine there is no formula.
No. Because if you
many people try and they can't.
Yeah, if
but
you say...
do you work with formula? That's what I ask you. Do you have it?
Can't.
No?
I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
If you say, I'm going to write a bestseller,
yeah,
and you sit down to write it, what you're really saying is, I'm going to write a book with the lowest common denominator so that the most people will read it.
Yes.
Okay. I think when you try to please everybody,
you
wind up pleasing anybody.
Yes.
Now, my readers are housewives, school teachers, truck drivers, scientists, prostitutes. And I'm in so many countries. I mean, how do you please a scientist in Finland and a housewife in Africa?
It sounds impossible.
It is impossible. So I don't think of my readers. I don't think of the audience. I get an idea that excites me, and I write it as well as I know how before I ever give it to my publisher. And I hope readers will like it. That's if that's a formula, that's my formula.
That's your formula, but working so many years, I suppose you have some tricks or things you had.
The only trick I have is that I try to end each chapter so it's what we call a cliffhanger. So it's so exciting.
How do you call it?
A cliffhanger, hanging from a cliff.
Yeah, that's right.
So the reader has to turn one more page and see what's going to happen.
You can't stop.
If that's a trick, I try to do that.
I think it is, yeah. Well, yes, a formula or whatever you can tell.
Yeah, it's very hard for me to find a book that I can't put down. If I'm reading at night and I get sleepy, I look ahead to see how many pages to the end of the chapter. And I say 5 pages, I'll stay awake till then. When I get to the end of the chapter, I close the book and go to sleep. I try to write my books so that when the reader gets to the end of the chapter, he or she has to turn another and keep going.
Yes.
And I think that's fun for a reader.
Yeah, of course it is. How is your life, Sidney, your normal life?
It's fantastic.
When you're writing, it's fantastic. That's fine, eh?
I am so lucky and so happy. I think my life
Not many people can say that, I tell you.
I know. My life is a series of miracles. I'm married to a wonderful, beautiful lady. I love my
Yeah.
work. I love
She's
to
here.
write.
She came
She's
here,
here.
yeah.
Alexandra's here.
Alexandra.
Yeah, and we've been to 22 countries in the last 2 years. I mean, we travel a lot because I do a lot of research. But I love writing. Most of my writing friends love having written. When it's finished, they hate
Yes,
writing. I
yes.
love the act of writing.
You love it.
Yeah.
When you finish a novel, how much time do you take till you write the other one?
About 10 minutes.
So you're with a plot always in your
Oh,
head?
I know my next 4 books.
Yes, now?
Yeah, yes.
Tell me.
Oh, I can't
No.
do that. No. When I say books, you understand, I'm talking about characters.
Yeah, ideas,
I know the
characters.
Not even ideas, just the characters. And they will become ideas, and they will become books.
Always women? Yes.
Well, I have a new one that's coming out next September, and this one has a male protagonist. It's called The Doomsday Conspiracy. And Joel Silver, who produced the Die Hard movies and Lethal Weapon movies, I imagine they've played here. He has bought it for pictures, and it'll be done at Warner Brothers.
So when, in September?
In next September. And I haven't even finished it yet. I'm still working on it.
I was wondering about it. When will you write
because
it?
he liked the idea so much when I told him. He hasn't even read the book. He just bought the idea, and he's doing it as a movie.
Where do you live?
In Los Angeles.
In Hollywood, near Hollywood.
Near Hollywood.
In Beverly Hills.
Right, yes.
I remember when you came here last time, the chats with you were very funny for me because you said, oh, my friend Frank Sinatra, my friend, so you're very in contact with all the people.
Well, that's because I've worked with them all in movies, yes. You know, I've worked with Bing Crosby and Judy Garland and Fred Astaire and so many, because I've done so many pictures, so they're all friends. Kirk Douglas.
You're more friend of actors than of writers. You have friends between writers.
Yeah, well, Irving Wallace, whom I love, was a very dear friend of mine. And I like Jackie Collins very much.
And what do you read?
When I work, I can't read anything because I create a world of my own. And I can't leave that to get into the world that other writers have created. I read a book not long ago by E.L. Doctorow.
Yes.
Called Billy Bathgate. And I love that. I think he's a wonderful writer.
But you don't read too much?
Only if I'm on vacation, but I don't take vacations too much. I like George Bernard Shaw very much, and some of the Russian writers.
I remember the other time I saw you, you were reading Capote, Truman Capote. You remember that?
Yeah, I like Capote.
I remember that you told me you liked him a lot.
Yeah, very much, very much. There are a lot of good writers around, and I feel lucky because whatever it is that makes readers read my books, so many of them enjoy it, and it affects their lives. A woman came up to me at a restaurant in New York, the Russian Tea Room, and she said, I'm a lawyer. And the reason I'm a lawyer is because I read Rage of Angels.
Wow.
So that kind of thing happens to me.
You don't feel very responsible?
Very responsible.
Yes.
And that's why, Christina, each book is more difficult for me to write than the book before, because every book of mine sells more than the previous book. And people buy it because my name is on it, before their reviews or publicity or anything. So I feel very responsible, and it makes each one, I work harder on each one.
You never have the fantasy, you don't get scared when you begin a book, you say, oh, maybe this one isn't good, people don't read it?
No, I don't think about that.
You feel very sure?
Well, I feel sure only in the sense that when I get an idea, if I like it, then I really like it, or I won't write about it. I won't write about that character.
So people will like it?
So I hope people will like it.
Well, it's over, we have to go.
I've enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
Very
it's been a
much,
pleasure.
really. La semana que viene en Los Siete Locos, nada menos que el señor Quino, el papá de Mafalda, como a él le gusta presentarse, el escritor y periodista Ernesto Yo y la pintora Natalia Cohen. No se olviden, el miércoles a las 11 de la noche acá por Canal 15. Chao, muchísimas gracias.